In the annals of religious history, certain tales captivate the mind with their mystique and profound lessons. One such story is that of the Ashab al Kahf. The tale of the Ashab al Kahf, or the people of the cave, is a mesmerizing narrative that stretches from the genesis of Christianity in the 1st century CE all the way to its distension in the 5th century. The story is revered by monotheists as a tale of returning heroes, even though its origins and details are shrouded in ambivalent conjectures. This captivating story is delineated exclusively in the Quran, in chapter 18 verses 9 to 26, to answer certain queries put forth by the Jewish elders of Medina via the pagans of Makkah. Interestingly, the name of a Quran chapter is dedicated to this incident. Now Quran clearly says that the youth slept for 309 years, whereas the biblical narration varies on this account. Few historians have suggested a sleep timing of 374 years, whereas the consensus time of sleep, as per the biblical references, suggests 187 years. This time superbly fits with the infamous Second Persecution of Christianity, enacted during the reign of Emperor Decius in 250 CE and led to the logical conclusions consolidating the Trinitarian theology. However, the Quran does not elaborate on the ordeal of these youths elsewhere, nor is there any prophetic tradition that explicates this tale. Now the point is that for Orthodox Islam, it is difficult to accept how something elaborated by early exegetes could be wrong. To make it understand how this fake tradition entered early exegetical commentaries, a systematic methodology is adopted. As regards the nature of biblical tradition, there is an Islamic consensus that as long as these traditions don't negate Islamic viewpoint, these may be accepted and unacceptable if they contradict Islamic beliefs. With this understanding, if we explore the addition of this tradition into Quranic exegesis, we must understand the level of difficulty early Muslim exegetes must have faced. If we explore the Quran, the word cave is narrated 8 times, 6 times in Surah Al-Kahf and twice in some other context not relating to the people of the cave. Similarly, in prophetic narrations, the word cave is repeated 79 times, most relating to Hira and Gar-e-Sor. 9 times these revelations relate to bounties of reading Surah Al-Kahf, and not even once ordeal of this youth is narrated anywhere by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. For this tradition, early Muslim exegetes were left with no option but to consult biblical tradition, and apparently, this tradition doesn't conflict with any of the Islamic tenets. They never knew that later on, Christian scholars would accuse the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of forging Christian tradition under their matrix of accusing the Quran of stealing Syriac traditions. The prophetic era witnessed the epitome of submission and obedience observed on the part of the companions, and, in the presence of the divine restriction to dig into this affair, none of them inquired, despite the surah being revealed in mid-Makkan period and was recited all the way along. Nevertheless, once Islam expanded at the time of the Rashidun Caliphates, people with various customs and areas embraced Islam, and they definitely inquired about the ordeal of this youth, as the name of one of 114 chapters relates to them. Therefore, early Islamic exegetes inquired from biblical experts who embraced Islam, for example, Wahb bin Munabba and Ka'b bin al-Barr. They only narrated biblical tradition as they heard it. There is no prophetic attribution given to this biblical tradition, neither by companions nor by narrators. The Christian scholars accused Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of stealing the Christian tradition of the 7 sleepers of the cave under their broader design. They accused that the present Quran Codex is written from Syriac sources, in which Umayyad's dynasty carried out many redactions and insertions. These Western scholars argue that Muhammad took many Syriac traditions to fill in the Quran. For example, famous British historian Gibbon writes in his famous book, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, that Muhammad learned this tale from Syria when his caravan traveled to Syria, and later on included in the Quran as a revelation and encyclopedia of Islam by Brill, which is the biggest Islamic database in the West, wrote that Muhammad molded this story for his benefits, and so on.
Whereas, at the heart of this tale are devout followers of Jesus' Essens Fellow, which was one of the sects of Judaism in the 1st century CE. They were caught between the rock of their faith and the hard place of the Roman Empire's wrath, coupled with intrigues of contemporary Jewish sects, Pharisees and Sadducees. They chose the path of righteousness. Essens dwelled in the Qumran caves, a sanctuary of solitude and safety, which became their home, their heaven, their fortress against the world that sought to break their faith. The youth probably moved to Al-Rajib caves at the time of extreme crisis that befell upon them once the pursuit of followers of Jesus was carried out by the Romans. The cave from where they woke up is in present-day Jordan, which is within close proximity of Qumran caves, from where Jesus most probably ascended to the heavens. The world they awoke to was not the one they had left behind. The reign of the Roman pagan empire and those Jewish sects that betrayed Jesus at the Last Supper were a distant memory, and in its place was the era of Theodosius I, a time when Trinitarian Christianity was about to be accepted as the state religion of the Roman Empire. The boys, still firm in their faith, found themselves in a world that now embraced the corrupted message of Jesus with them, just to tell the truth to a strayed Roman populace. The end of their tale is as mysterious as its beginning. After their brief exposure to the world, the boys returned to their slumber. This time, they did not wake up. They passed away in their sleep, their bodies finally succumbing to the passage of time. As time passed, the legend of the Ashab al Kahf continued to be told and retold, its significance undiminished. In the realm of religious and historical scholarship, the story of the Ashab al Kahf has been a subject of profound interest. Scholars have delved into the narrative, exploring its roots and implications, and tracing its journey across cultures and centuries. Nevertheless, Islamic scholarship couldn't respond to the accusations raised against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was not possible in the absence of any credible empirical evidence and a baseline argument. Allah expatiates the entire story in much greater detail in chapter 18 of the Quran to enchant the inquisitors. The morpheme of Quranic narrations carries an idiosyncratic subliminal message once integrated with the DSS. This pictography further elucidates distinct novelties of the Qumran community if beaded and integrated with the socio-political happenings and demography of the area. It was the academic dilemma of the nascent Islam that basic data about the Qumran community was not consulted. The reference to the Dead Sea Scrolls community was abundantly available to Muslim historians, and as a surprising fact, biblical experts have utilized the same data to remove the biggest enigma of the Last Supper from the Bible while capitalizing on the Muslim historian reference and the calendar discovered from the DSS. The famous and scientifically successful Joubert hypothesis is based on the written record of al-Biruni, wherein al-Biruni narrated habits of the Megareas, the cave people, i.e. DSS community, and also referred to the calendar used by these cave people. This lead was plentiful for the biblical scholars to remove the most disturbing part of the Bible, i.e. dichotomy in the Last Supper dates in the four Gospels. Knowledge and presence of this information were equally sufficient for the Muslim historians to resolve a long mystery and could have given them a lead in understanding and making a plausible reply against the biblical scholars' accusations on the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Neither the knowledge of DSS amongst early Muslim scholarship was utilized, nor could they access this repository at the Dead Sea shores, thus Islamic tradition suffered massively in terms of the empirical pieces of evidence. Nevertheless, the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 breathed new life into this legend. These ancient Jewish texts, found in the Qumran caves, opened fresh avenues for understanding the biblical past. They also sparked renewed interest in the story of the Ashab al Kahf, leading to a fascinating hypothesis. Muhammad Asad, a prominent 20th century Muslim scholar, was inspired by these discoveries because of his Jewish background and sensed the relationship. He first suggested in his controversial Quran exegesis, The Message of Quran, that the Ashab al Kahf were not merely Christian youths, but members of the Essenes sect. The Essenes were a Jewish sect that flourished around the time of Jesus Christ, and many of their teachings were similar to early Christian doctrines. Nevertheless, Asad couldn't substantiate with any material or empirical evidence.
However, the latest scholarship work by Rashid Iqbal substantiated with empirical evidence that indeed Ashab al Kahf were Essenes. Using the five-pronged juxtaposing approach, the scholar has analyzed the Dead Sea Scrolls, Second Temple Judaism, first-century Christianity, Roman history, and the Quran by simultaneously juxtaposing their internal environments in the 1st century right up to the time once the Christians exploited the story. Through this multifaceted analysis, he has sought to establish connections between the DSS community, Jesus' ministry, and the Ashab al Kahf. The theory was first published in Brill's Journal of Quran and Hadith in 2017. The same year, the researcher was invited to Oxford University, UK to study its impact. There at St. Hilda's College, another paper was read to discuss Jesus' Essenes' relationship at the Last Supper. Combined together, the theory is able to establish not only a sustainable rationale connection but also offers answers to early Christianity conundrums. However, a big problem is that common folks have no clue about the complex ongoing tug-of-wars between conflicting theological disputes in the 1st century between pagan Romans and emerging Christianity, as well as between these early Christians and Judaism from where it was taking birth. Not only this, Judaism within itself was fighting against its 3 distinct sects on the matter of their religious beliefs. Understanding this highly complex and intriguing environment is paramount to understanding the environment once Jesus was preaching the truth and the milieu in which Ashab al Kahf slept. Unless complete understanding is not achieved, it is not possible to understand why Christians adopted this lore for the expansion of Christianity across the pagan Roman Empire. In the next few lectures, the same complexities of late antiquity and early Christianity will be expounded so that viewers may follow how this lore was manipulated by Christianity for theological gains. Probably it is first time that the biblical traditions are undergoing scrutiny by any of Islamic scholar by utilizing and incorporating outer source, fang of historical methodology, and the truth is oozing out like a stream of water. Previously, conflicting biblical traditions were left as it is as Islamic scholastic considered them external matter. That is why biblical scholars didn't feel vigor for looking into reality of their own traditions and were at ability to criticize Islamic tradition by boastfully alleging that Quran acquired Syriac tradition, whereas, once researched scientifically, it is revealed that it is not even Christian tradition, what to talk of stealing it from Christianity. The paper published at Brill broadly suggests to Christian scholars to check their home first, before muddying clean water of Islamic history. The scientific research work met massive success as once compiled in a book. The book stood amongst top 10 hot releases at Amazon store, and later on its work was extensively quoted by renowned Indonesian Islamic scholar Mr. Visnu Tanggap Prabowo in his book in Malay language. The book stood 3rd at Jakarta Islamic Book Fair in 2023 and greatly contributed for knowledge of Far East Muslim scholars. In series of lectures, cardinals of research methodology would be expounded so as to make this highly complex issue simpler for understanding of common readers. Share this information and keep following until the end to understand this mystery.